Hello, and welcome back to our election special coverage for 2026. This time we focus on Arizona, the Sunset State. Election deniers and conspiracy theorists top Arizona's Republican nominees this year. Reads the headline from the Arizona Mirror. Arizona prosecuted 18 defendants, including former state GOP chair Kelly Ward, for producing a fraudulent certificate of ascertainment to claim Trump had won the state's electoral votes in 2020. With the indictments, Arizona became the fourth state where allies of Donald Trump had been charged with using false or unproven claims about voter fraud related to the 2020 election. The FBI said in May this year, several election experts, including some who watched the Arizona audit in person in 2021, said any investigation based on the Cyber Ninja data would be fatally flawed. In Maricopa, the most populous county, a federal grand jury subpoenaed digital data related to a partisan audit of the county's vote. So we'll find out. That was in March. Noble Predictive Insights on May 15th had it, Hobbs 41%, Biggs 37%, within the 3% margin of error. Kalshi, the real money at risk betting site, has Katie 81% to 20%. Now that's a huge disparity. Someone could make a lot if Andy pulls it out. Biggs won the Republican primary with roughly 70% of the vote, setting him up for the November election. Hobbs was first elected in 2022 and has built an early polling lead despite President Donald Trump carrying Arizona by more than 5 points in the 2024 election. The Arizona governor race is expected to be among the most competitive of the 2026 midterm elections. Democrats are optimistic about Hobbs' polling lead and believe Trump's declining approval rating could drive a 2018-style blue wave that boosts Democratic candidates across the country. More on those declining ratings in a moment. When looking at Arizona politics, it is important to remember even Barry Goldwater, the grandfather of conservatism, did not vote for Ronald Reagan in Arizona during the 1980 presidential election. He supported the Democratic candidate Jimmy Carter. Goldwater's political views evolved over time, and he became critical of the religious right within the Republican Party. 46 years later, Donald Trump's approval rating in Arizona has fluctuated, with significant partisan divides. During his presidency, he had strong support among Republicans, but low approval from Democrats. In recent polls, his approval ratings have been notably lower than those of other presidents at similar points in their terms, according to National Archives. In May, new polling shows Donald Trump's Arizona approval at net -17, his lowest of either term, with sharp erosion among independents and moderates. Remember that number, -17. For Congress, former Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb won the Republican nomination for Arizona's Congressional District 5. Daniel Keenan, the other Republican, had poured nearly $2 million of his own cash into the campaign and attempted to make Lamb's alleged sexual misconduct and abuse of power central to the race. Lamb denied the allegations. This is notable because I told you Trump's approvals are low, but Lamb's race outcome reveals the strength of Trump's endorsement. And it's the latest example of how willing GOP primary voters have been to accept scandal-ridden candidates favored by the president. Lamb did not lose any significant endorsements in the wake of the scandals. Trump reinforced his endorsement in mid-July, even as Keenan made the allegations central to his campaign. Lamb, like other celebrity sheriffs, has built his political reputation off of being a tough-on-crime cowboy lawman. Lamb is virtually guaranteed a victory in November, which means that Congress will indeed have more cowboy hats and belt buckles. It will also have another lawmaker from the tradition of law enforcement officers who believe that MAGA principles, not legislation or court rulings, are the true arbiter of the law. Arizona GOP voters nominated Alexander Kolodin for Secretary of State, despite what the New York Times described as election denial efforts that earned him an admonition from the State Bar Association. That's what they call it now, election denial, as if an election didn't happen. Alexander backed President Donald Trump's election fraud claims of 2020. Lest we forget, Katie Hobbs was Arizona's Secretary of State, the state's top elections official. While she ran for governor in 2022, she refused to recuse herself. She oversaw the rules. She certified the results. She won by 17,000 votes. Cyber Ninja's audit claims that there were 57,000 questionable ballots cast in the 2020. Then Hobbs called anyone who questioned it an election denier. Now she's out there taking full credit for no tax on tips that came from Trump's tax cuts and a Republican-led conformity deal. Same playbook, different year. Never forget who was in charge of the election she won. Her. And now Jocelyn Benson is running for governor in Michigan, while in office as the Secretary of State who oversees the very elections she is a candidate in. She won't recuse herself either. Steve Hobbs is Washington's 16th Secretary of State. He began his tenure in 2021. He oversaw his 100% mail-in ballot election too. No recusal. Interesting how they all do it now, huh? Alexander Kolodin will take on Adrian Fontes, who himself defeated who he called election denier Mark Fincham. I am honored to be presumptively elected Arizona's next Secretary of State. I will make it my mission to bring us closer together than we have been during these last few years, Fontes said after winning. Adrian Fontes, the incumbent Democratic Secretary of State who took over for Governor Hobbs, who oversaw her own election that President Trump questioned in a primetime address to the nation recently, Katie now gets to oversee her re-election for governor. Arizona's election results were certified on November 30th, 2020 by Secretary of State Katie Hobbs, formalizing Democrat Joe Biden's narrow victory over Donald Trump. And while Kolodin was still an election attorney running against a guy that gets to oversee his own election, Fontes, no recusal, fun stuff in the desert sand. We'll see what voters think about all this come November 3rd. Thanks for sticking around for our special election coverage. Don't forget to subscribe to heartlandjournal.com so you don't miss a future episode, and always feel free to check out our library of great shows and great guests, making a positive change in our communities, and it's free. See you Friday on 3 and 3. 3 and 3 is a Heartland Journal LLC copyright, all rights reserved.